Welcome back to Express Yourself, and please join me this morning in welcoming Peter Tesh. Peter is the president of the Economic Development Council of St. Lucie County. Peter, thanks again
Mike.
for joining us.
Happy Friday to you.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Good to see you, sir.
So let's do this morning. Obviously, Pete is the president of the EDC of St. Lucie County. I want him to talk a little bit about that first, and then we're going to go into some other components that really make up the EDC, that being the Workforce Readiness Initiative, the Treasure Coast Manufacturing Association, and a little bit about the Small Business Development Center. But first of all, Pete, for those who know nothing about the EDC, give us a broad view of what it represents.
Happy to do so, Mike, and thanks again for having me on
Sure.
here. The EDC, the Economic Development Council, is an organization dedicated to job creation. So
Okay.
our job is to help create jobs for the community. So we're a nonprofit corporation. We're made up of business leaders, government, education, and we try to work very closely with new and expanding businesses to help create jobs. So that's our job all day long.
Terrific. You know, I was looking over some of the material from your office, and I know there's been some real success stories this year with ABC Medical, Maverick Boats, and City Electric, Tamco. Talk to us a little bit about how those developed and what the EDC did to make those moves fruitful for those companies.
Yes, of course. The companies that you mentioned are very critical to helping us diversify the economy further. So in the instance of the companies that you mentioned, we worked very closely with them on some very specific issues. One was property, site, and facility selection. Second thing was helping them get through the permitting process with our local and state governments. And third is showing them how that this business climate, the business environment that we're in, makes sense, and also to help them identify skilled workers for their relocation or expansion. So very specific things to help them grow and expand here in St. Lucie County in the Treasure Coast.
And if you don't mind me asking, just in a general sense, you don't have to give me any names, but at any one time, how many companies do you have in the pipeline that you're trying to court?
Well, with our prospect report, currently we have close to 40 companies or projects where
Wow.
people are and companies are interested in chatting with us.
That's terrific.
And that could be, all the way from just saying, yes, we're interested, to some of the other companies you mentioned being involved with them on a day-to-day basis on their expansion plans.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, something we talked about before we started this session, and then you mentioned it just a moment ago in your opening comments, and that's about the availability of labor and the recognition that the EDC has made. And so there's a couple stories that go with this workforce initiative to try to improve that in the county. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Mike, what's important for everyone to know is that if we're going to grow the economy, and in very simple terms, it's like, how can we help improve the lives of our families and residents, help create more wealth for them? How do we make sure that they can take care of their families through increased incomes and better jobs? So
Right.
that's the issue that we face here in the Treasure Coast. So part of our work with existing business, particularly in the manufacturing, healthcare, and the skilled trades, working with owners and employers, the issue of having skilled, semi-skilled, and even unskilled workers to fulfill the needs of the workplace are going unmet, as you well know in your profession.
Absolutely.
So part of that dialogue is how can we work, again, with government, business, and most important, with our education and training service providers to increase that flow, that pipeline of talent going to our workers. Working with employers, working with education system, working with trainers, working with the business organizations in our community.
One of the most astounding stories I had heard related to that was the high school guidance counselors that were taken on a tour of some of the manufacturing facilities in the area. Tell us what we learned from those counselors in that process.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up, Mike. It's really fascinating because the school system, at least in the case of St. Lucie County Public Schools, every year they graduate literally thousands of young people that want to work in career and technical education fields. So part of our work with the school system is, okay, how do we link the world of the classroom to the world of work? And along with the students and the teachers, the next area is the guidance counselors. So we had 41 guidance counselors a few months ago visit area manufacturers, and their eyes were completely wide open. It was such a fascinating experience for them and for us.
Terrific.
And it was very positive. And as a result, we have our first exploratory manufacturing boot camp for 20 graduating high school seniors in June.
Fantastic. Well, I know it'll grow from there with your leadership.
Yes, we're having fun.
Speaking of manufacturers, there's a entity that's kind of an offshoot of the Economic Development Council, the Treasure Coast Manufacturing Association. Tell us how that works with, or what's the identity of that group?
The Treasure Coast Manufacturers Association, we call it TCMA, is a group of manufacturers for manufacturers. And the EDC has always focused as an industry sector the importance of manufacturing. Small percentage of the workforce that are actually involved in that industry. Mm-hmm. However, the average earnings per worker of the manufacturing jobs are well above the average for St. Lucie County and the Treasure Coast. So this, kind of going back to the job creation and wealth creation for families, manufacturing offers that advantage here in our community. So we with the help of Tammy Roncaglione with Center State Bank, mm-hmm. and Jerry Jakes, who is the general manager for Advanced Machine and Tool,
right,
were some of the founding fathers and mothers, if you will, of TCMA. And there's two real strong objectives for this organization. One is to make it easy for manufacturers to grow and expand in our community.
Great.
And the second, unsurprisingly, is how do we fulfill the need for skilled workers that have the skill sets to go and operate the complex systems in manufacturing.
It's kind of a common theme.
Yes, yes. So, growing the physical assets and growing the talent base.
One more component of the EDC is the Small Business Development Group. Touch on that just a little bit.
Yes. As you can imagine, as you've heard, small business is the backbone of America. Well, it's the backbone of the Treasure Coast. And we're so fortunate that in our community we have Indian River State College, which is one of the best community colleges in the nation, as reflected by the Aspen Institute report last year. So we have a great asset in that. Part of Indian River State College's mission is to help small business, and there's a working relationship with the State Small Business Development Center. So this is a group of seasoned business executives that have a lot of experience in business in different disciplines that are providing counseling and guidance and real life experience to either startup companies, second stage companies, or those that want to grow their business. So having this asset and working in partnership with SBDC and the college, we have thousands, literally thousands of businesses here in St. Lucie County and the Treasure Coast. How can we help them grow and expand? Fantastic.
In the little bit of time we got left, most importantly, if someone has questions about any of these entities or wants to know more information or get in touch with you, who do they need to contact, email or phone call? What do they need to do?
They can call me, Mike, and my phone number is 772-336-6250, and that's the St. Lucie Economic Development Council. We have a great website, youredc.com, so we invite you to take a look at that, and anybody that's watching this show can tap into us either by phone or by email.
Well, that's a generous offer, and I can tell you from personal experience that Pete is hands-on. So, Pete, thank you very much again for being
Mike,
with us.
always a pleasure,
Best of
sir.
luck. Have a great weekend.
Thank you for having me.